This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Lizzie Polly Robinson Brown Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of a cherished community, families, and friends. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with Miss Rosemary Christy. Welcome to my podcast, Miss Christy.
Thank you.
I have been knowing Rosemary for a long time, in fact, since 1992, and we have talked back and forth about Rosewood. I have educated her, and she has gone out and educated herself because she has been reading my information. But today is special, and I'm going to sidestep to tell you all about a special event that is happening this month. Then I'll come back to the Rosewood history. This month, I want to say happy birthday to the Rosewood school teacher. Her birthday is this month, which is, believe, April 30th. I forgot to check my date, but I will be coming back next week, and I will make certain it is April 30th. But I want you to know that I am going to be doing a tribute to her. And the tribute is for the suffrage and the sacrifices she has made. And later on, we are going to write a book honoring her memory, honoring her memories. I'm going to tell her story as it was dictated to me by my mother in 1923. And as all of you all know, that each time I tell my story on podcasts, I have to tell or share the importance of my mom's work, who was/is the historian for the real Rosewood. My mom strongly encouraged me to keep her defeat, her sister's heartbreak, her sister's pain and embarrassment alive, preserve and tell the world. And for the last 30 plus years, I have done exactly that, researched my mother's truth to tell her story. I would call myself or refer to myself as a foot soldier for democracy, okay? And I am also a foot soldier for the real Rosewood history, because history is who we are, and without it, we are nothing. And Mom said, you must research, authenticate, and tell that story. And so when I met Rosemary years ago, I think I started from scratch, Rosemary, with you sharing the Rosewood history. And plus, you had heard about Rosewood anyway, but not in details.
Yes, not really. We met at a leadership class at the University of Florida.
Okay.
And that's how we really became friends. We got to know each other that way. But what stands out in my mind about the real Rosewood, you appeared at a church for a Black History program, and you were the main event speaker. And you talked about Rosewood. That was my first time really hearing about it, and the fact that you had people were involved in that, including your aunt. The way you told the story to the church, I remember you couldn't hear a pin drop. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet because it was so compelling. And to hear you tell the story, we felt your pain. In fact, I think I felt your ancestors' pain. It was so moving, and not a word was said. People weren't whispering and talking among themselves. You had everybody's total attention, including mine. And from that, I joined your Rosewood Foundation.
Yes.
And I can remember we worked very hard. It
Yes.
was a very busy time to get it up and running. And then I remember you were doing a lot of the research yourself.
Mhm.
I guess most of it yourself, right?
Right, yes.
Because you would tell about the times you would go into Levy County to the courthouse asking for records and everything, and how sometimes you would go and you would be kind of afraid.
Yes,
And but you did it anyway.
yes.
And then I remember the time we took a bus load of people there, and at that particular time, the guy who owned the property where the graveyards were, he allowed us into the graveyard,
Yes,
and that was very special. So
Yes.
Rosewood history is one that needs to be told,
mhm,
and there are similar histories also that need to be shared.
exactly.
And I just commend you for being the historian that you are.
Thank you.
You are a self-taught historian.
Yes, yes I am.
Based on what your mom wanted you to do.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that we went to the cemetery. I had forgotten about that. I
Yes,
had
you did.
forgotten that you were a part of that group, because when I have been telling that, I said, oh yes, at one time he allowed us to go to the cemetery, take pictures, flowers if necessary. But you know, that's no longer. We are not allowed, and I don't think I have told you this, but we are not allowed to go to that cemetery now. In fact, he had a keep out poster, okay, no trespassing poster there, and it's our family members that's buried there, but we cannot visit, okay? And yes, and I know what year was that, Rosemary? When
Oh,
we
don't
was
ask
it
me that.
92?
It probably was about probably about 94. somewhere along in
94.
there. Yeah.
Okay, because when I spoke the first time, it was at Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant Methodist
It was
Church.
92.
Mhm.
It was in 19.
It was 92?
It was 92.
Okay.
I have spoken at your church, haven't I?
Oh, yes. You had to have you come and tell the story. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
And we have been friends forever, and we fight, but we're still friends. I just got through fussing at her today, but we're still friends.
Okay.
And I am so happy that you are agreed to come on and chat, share this story, because you remember my mom, and you remember things that mom told me, and you know the reason why I am continuing the fight for peace and healing is because of my mother.
Yeah, I remember your mom, your uncle, your sister who passed as well, and I have spoken to your mom
Yes,
about some of this. And she says, and she was very proud of you.
yes,
I told Lizzie, she told you what she wanted you to do, and you have been going above and beyond what your mother asked for you. I know if she could, she's probably somewhere looking down on you right now, just as
yes.
happy as a lark, because she knows that her commands have been taken care of by her daughter. And your mother reminds me so much of my mother, because she chose me to be her spokesperson and give me the things to do for the family, and I try and keep that in mind. So, but I know that for you, Rosewood is very personal.
Yes,
Very
it is.
personal, although you weren't even around when it happened.
Yes,
But to hear your mother talk about it, and that was your aunt, was a school teacher, right?
yes, yes.
And to come back and pick up her life a little bit like you did. You did tell me that she went on to become a principal, didn't you?
Yes, I did. You remember?
Yeah, you said she was a principal in Levy County, right?
Yes, went back 6 miles from Rosewood in 1942-ish and became the principal at Gulf Hammock, which is 6 miles from Rosewood.
Oh, wow.
So her mother had passed, my grandmother Lizzie. However, her dad was still alive, and my mom, and they thought she was crazy. But she didn't have any money, and she heard about this opening, this vacancy in Gulf Hammock. She didn't have any supporting evidence. How am I going to apply for this job? No one knows me. But one morning she got up and she said to my dad, Brother Yuri, may I borrow your car? He never asked her where she was going. He said, of course. She drove to Brunson, to the sheriff's house. That is funny. Because when he saw her, she knocked on the door. He came to the door and saw this black woman. When he saw her, Mom said, my aunt told her, he almost passed out and rudely said to her, Gussie, what are you doing here? Because he was afraid for her. And he was afraid for himself. Because they had fired him 2 years after Rosewood. So she said to him politely, well, you are the only person that can vouch for my teaching job in Rosewood. And there's a principalship in Gulf Hammer. And I don't have any credentials because everything was burned in the fire. He looked at her and said, get out of here. With a point, with a hand signal, get out of here. He said, yes, and he said, you will hear from me in a few days. She got in her car, she left. In a few days, he had gone somewhere and got an emergency certificate so that she would be able to teach as a principal in Gulf Hammer. Today, I have that, a carbon copy of that certificate, and it says emergency. So
wow.
That's one of my book items. So it wasn't that he was mean to her, it was he was scared for her. Okay, so she turned around on a dime and went back home. And later on, after she got the certificate, she told my mom and Papa, we called him her father, and they were devastated. Why do you want to go back? And my mother eventually believed after, I don't know when it was, but anyway, my mother kept everything. And one day I was looking through her papers that my mom had kept in my aunt's papers that the sheriff even delivered to her from Rosewood. And I saw it says, it was not food stamp rations. The little red, what are they called? I can't remember what they are called now. But anyway, she had some of those, and she had the location. They were from the health department where they now give food stamps, but it was basically the same thing. And my mom believed that the reason she wanted to go back to Gulf Hammer, she wanted to share those food stamps with the people that escaped. Because remember the night they escaped, some went through the woods.
Right.
Okay, through the swamp. And she and my mom and I, after Aunt MG died, believed that she went back to help those people that she knew. Okay, I don't know if that is a fact. But another thing, Rosemary, when you were talking about you are the gatekeeper for your family, I remember that the two of us have a lot in common. Okay, you took care of your family's history. You are the matriarch, and you're not the oldest one, but you're the matriarch for your family until today. You take care of your family's business. And that's what I did. I was the matriarch. So I guess that's why we bonded, because we have a lot in common. And as I say, we don't always see eye to eye, but we always be friends. But that's what makes a good friendship.
Yeah.
Okay, we're two strong women, have a mind of our own.
We can agree to disagree.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love the way you said that. Exactly.
Now, I have a question for you. Did you ever tell why your aunt spoke in such a soft voice after the event that happened that night?
She was afraid. She was fearful for the rest of her life. For the next 25 years, she spoke in a very soft voice. Even to me, she was my homeschool teacher. And when the two of us sat together, she was a seamstress, so she moved back home, left her husband. I haven't talked about that. Moved back home, and she was a seamstress and would make my clothes, okay, and teach me as she sewed, because it was still in her heart to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the job she got after Rosewood, she was cooking, okay, cooking for a family and taking care of children. However, she was teaching them also, and that was part of her resolve, a part of healing. But the only thing I can say, Rosemary, and that is why she was speaking in a soft voice. And I'm so glad you said that. I had forgotten about that too. That I told you that she spoke just above a whisper. She was so sophisticated too, and very, very proud. I wore this dress today because it's an old dress, and I knew I was going to talk about her birthday. I'm thinking this is maybe 1950, 60, 70. I don't know, but I wore this in memory of her.
All right.
Okay? Yes, indeed. That's about time for our first half. We are going to take, let me say that over. That's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a quick Rosewood word.
All right.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida and America's Black History.
And you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
My name is Lizzie Robinson Jenkins. I am the president and founder of the Real Rosewood Foundation, established 2003 in Archer, Florida. Years ago, in a little town called Rosewood, Florida, there was a massacre. Several people were killed, all because of guns, violence, disrespect. We cannot allow gun violence to take out our young kids. We're coming together. We're going to work together. And we are going to put guns on the run. GNV. Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, recorded right here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Coach Spurrier's own podcast room. We're here with guest Miss Rosemary Christy, retired educator. And I want to start or begin this second part with some accolades. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we have done and we are going to be doing. We just did an ad, and one of the ads was about gun violence. And that's important to me. Not only am I tired of gun violence, everybody, I believe, is tired of gun violence. And what is so significant about the ad that I did, I also gave Rosewood, the Real Rosewood Foundation, credit for that ad. Okay, and you will see that, and hopefully you will share that ad with other people. And we need to get the message out. We're tired. We're tired of the killing of our school kids. And that's exactly what that ad says. Stop killing our kids. So I want to talk about a book signing that's coming up, which is June 24th at the Matheson Center. It's going to be a book, not my main book about the real research of Rosewood, but it's about my childhood life as an individual that went to school for all of these years and never saw a black face, a black picture in a book. And that's what I'm talking about in this book, which is called Lizzie's Rosewood Race. Put that on your to-do list. June 24th at the Matheson Center. And also, in this month, we are going to be unveiling our new website at rosewoodflorida.com. You may visit rosewoodflorida.com and make a donation, if you wish, to move the house or for scholarship. if you wish. Also, if you want to just donate to the Rosewood Museum, I do have a cash app that says Rosewood Museum 2023. You may donate there. And I'm getting this out because we need help, especially to move the house that was donated to us in 2021. We plan to bring that house to Archer, make it into a museum, and the artifacts that I have from years past, we are going to be able to store or put those things in that museum or in that Rosewood house. And the public will be invited to visit. What else I was going to say? That's all. But as we speak, I don't know if you all know it or not, but Jeffrey Meldon is a supporter. He supports me, and I support him. Last year, I did an ad for his law office. And as we speak, Josh is working on an ad that Jeffrey Meldon will be doing for Rosewood. So we have to help each other work together to make America better. And I wanted to just share those things with you about upcoming events. Okay, I can't think of anything else right now. So we'll move back to Rosewood. And you asked me if I was going to talk about what did you whisper to me a minute ago?
Your trauma your aunt went through.
Okay.
But I have another question first of all.
Okay.
If you don't want to talk about that, I can understand that.
Oh, I'll talk about it.
Okay. I really wanted to know how did it come about that Rosewood Foundation was given the house that was left standing?
Well, because of my frequent visits. And I'm more than sure, and when I say my frequent visits, I have always gone to Rosewood, returned to Cedar Key, sit on the porch in Cedar Key, and look at the waterfront. And at the time when I was doing all of that visiting, I didn't know that that's where my great-great-grandfather was born. Don't know if he was born there. I found him there in 1848 at age 1. Never been able to locate his parents. However, I have a friend who's working on that now. So the reason I was able to ask that question again, I forgot. The truth is a lie.
No, the question I asked was how did you get the house? In other words,
Okay.
the guy gave it to you, the
Yes.
owners, right?
Yes.
So how did that come about?
It came about because I was so attached to Rosewood. I was so attached to that house. I was attached to the history. I knew I had written the script for the historical marker, but that wasn't the end of it. That house, I was just dreaming of one day owning that house or one day having a right to that house. So what I did, I kept going down, even when the new people bought the house 3 years ago, I kept visiting them and talking to them. And I remember the first day I saw this man, I was at the marker, and I saw the new buyer in the yard. And I said, now, Lord, should I go over and speak to him or not? So I did. I went over, and as soon as I got over, the big dog came out and jumped up on my car. And he came from out of nowhere. I don't know where he came from. He came up, and I let my car window down, and I said to him, hi, sir. I said, my name is Lizzie Jenkins. He said, get out. I said, not with that dog standing there. And he moved the dog. The dog got back. The dog was all over me anyway, but he was a very kind dog. And I introduced myself. I said, I always tell people my name, Lizzie Jenkins, and I said, I am the niece to the real Rosewood school teacher, and I was just visiting over there, and I saw you, and I wanted to meet you. He was so kind. His name is N. Stone. He said, hi, my name is N. Stone. Would you like to meet my wife? So his wife came out, and we chatted, and we talked and talked. And I left, came back, told my board members about I had met this really nice man, the owner of the house. So I called him one day, when we wanted to make an ad and ask if we could come down. So the board said yes, and he gave us permission to shoot or to film an ad. And
In front of the house?
in the house too.
Oh,
my
good.
my board members could not believe it when he allowed us in the house. So we have footage from the house that we are going to do, make a documentary, right, Jared? You don't have to answer that, but we are going to make a documentary. And we left out of the house. We came out on the outside, and he said to us, he said, "Well, you know the house is for sale. We have decided to sell it." And of course, we were all standing around the wishing well. There is a well there, and we named it after them, the wishing well, because we were all wishing for the house. He said, "It is up for sale," and I said to him, "Really?" I was so happy to hear him say that. He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, what are you selling it for? What's the cost?" He said, $100,000. I said to myself, $100,000? We don't have $1,000. However, he allowed us to finish shooting the footage, and I prayed about that and thought about that. And we all laughed because we were happy to hear him say it was for sale, and we were going to try to figure out how were we going to raise the money. So I kept visiting and just stayed in touch with them. So one day, he called me and invited my board down. So 4 of us went down, and we sat on the porch, and we were talking. They made cookies and lemonade for us, and we were talking about the house and our plans. So he just said, he interrupted me and said, "You know what, Mrs. Jenkins?" He said, "My wife, Hannah, and I have decided to donate the house to the Real Rosewood Foundation."
Wow.
And that's exactly what I said after almost falling out of my chair, and the other board members too. Donate. Wow. And he completed the sentence, because we know the importance of history, and we know how much you want this house. So because of your compassion for history, they decided to donate the house for us. And it has been a blessing. And now as we speak, we're trying to raise funds to pay for the house. And again, go to rosewoodflorida.com and click on donate. And please, you all, you can start with $2 a month. That's the smallest amount. But we appreciate larger amounts, because we need that house moved to Archer, Florida, where we have 29 acres, where my aunt and my mom were born, grew up on that farm, and I still live on that property today. So bringing that house that sheltered the Rosewood survivors, we will promise you all, we will shelter that house just as that house sheltered Rosewood.
And one of the things you can do is go back and find the date that the board went out there and make a plaque and put the date that it was donated.
February 15th,
19.
February 12th, 2021.
Okay.
I remember the
Have
the
a
date.
plaque right there would be nice.
That's a good idea. Hadn't thought of
With the
that.
name of the owners, previous owner.
Perfect. That
Yeah,
sounds
that'd be
good. Okay, I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace, building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time.